Good evening. Welcome to the November 7th Village Board meeting. This meeting is now called to order. We'll begin with the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, Republic, one nation, God, liberty, justice.
Trustee Bazemore,
Present.
Trustee Codman,
Present.
Trustee Levin,
Present.
Trustee Herrera,
Present.
Mayor Garrity.
Present.
Okay, we begin tonight with a public hearing in the matter of a local law, proposed local law number 7, amending chapter 178 noise of the Village of Ossining Code. Is there anyone here to address the board on this matter?
Okay, so Corporation Counsel, want to offer some legal advice at this stage?
Thank you, Mayor. We've had, I think this is the fourth open public hearing we have had with regard to proposed local law 7. Last time we had a discussion about changing some of the dates that the restrictions set forth in the proposed local law would not become effective until May 31, 2019. And that the gas-powered leaf blowers with properties of less than 1 acre, 1/2 acre rather, they would not be able to use gas-powered leaf blowers effective January 1, 2023 was the date that we had talked about last time. Other than that is the ordinance that we discussed before. I have not received any communication in my office with regard to the proposed local law since last public hearing that we had. So, or wants to, we could entertain a motion to close the public hearing at this.
Any comments on the board? I don't have a strong feeling one way or the other. Do we want to close it or leave it open?
I would like to close.
I would like to close it as well.
All right, we have a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So next we have mayors and trustees announcements.
Announcements from anyone? Or thing?
So come out and hear some live jazz this Saturday at the Elks Lodge. Jazz at the Lodge presents Mark Minkler, Jay Azalina, and Tim Horner. They're a fine jazz trio. Mark and Jay come from Croton and played at the Lodge before, certainly a favorite, and that'll start at 7:30. So that's Jazz at the Lodge this Saturday, 7:30, 118 Croton Avenue at the Ossining Elks Lodge. Thanks.
Anyone else with announcements? Please.
So first and foremost, I wanted to thank all village residents for having a historic turnout for Election Day. It's very great to see the community come out and get engaged, no matter where you are in politics or in policy. And Ossining really came through this year to really get engaged and get informed. But thank you all that are watching. Hopefully this will become the new Ossining normal as we continue to push that when it comes to all our elections. As far as me, I'm very grateful for my campaign, my staff, and my team, and all those who have reached out today and yesterday. And you'll hear from me in a couple of weeks on how I'll transfer my platform over to my capacity as a trustee when it comes to platforms and initiatives going forward. So thank you so much. My only announcement tonight that I was asked to do is there's going to be a festive tea. It's a benefit for the Ossining Children's Center. That's going to be on Friday, November 16th, and Saturday, November 18th. You can buy tickets at Holbrook Cottage or at Tastefully Yours. So as you know, the community center is moving to a new facility soon on State Street, which is really exciting. So this is a good opportunity to support their mission. Thank you.
Trustee Levin or Bazemore?
I will.
Please.
So it was a great turnout throughout New York State, and I think the midterms speaks volumes. It was great to see every district in the village vote and sort of speak volumes in the elections. And congratulations to the mayor on the re-elections. Congratulations to Manuel Casada for becoming trustee as well. And I look forward to serving another term on the board as a trustee. It's really, for me, a very joyful job. I can't speak for anybody else. and a very interesting position to hold. And there were a lot of people involved in the elections. And it's a great opportunity to meet people from every district in this community. And I enjoyed the running of the race, and I won't lie to you, enjoyed the winning of the race as well. So thank you everybody for coming out and voting. And I'm not leaving this without saying that I am especially so happy to see so many women um, really get into positions of leadership throughout this country. We've always been ahead of the curve of having women in leadership positions, so it's great that the rest of the country is catching up with us, and I'm very proud of that, so thank you.
From you tonight, Mr. Baseball. Okay. Well, I want to say thank you to everyone who came out and voted yesterday. We had a 50% of the population voted, at least in the mayoral election. And I'm sure it was more than that overall. There's always some undervotes. And this, for an off-year election, this was a very high turnout. It was higher than either of the last off-year elections, I mean midterm elections, although there were certainly more people that voted in the presidential elections in the past. But it felt like an incredible turnout, not just in the village, but in New York State and throughout the country. Particularly, we're hoping with, and I'll look forward to seeing more of the exit polls with young people and women and people of color. And if there is any if there's any positive legacy, no, understood. If there's any positive legacy that may come out of the current administration in Washington, may it be that there are that many more people who are involved and engaged and stepping up and running for office and working on campaigns. And I want to thank my opponent for running. At its best, campaigns are an opportunity for candidates to engage with the community in a way that we may not have before, and for the community to ask questions and think about their government in a way that they may not otherwise. And there was certainly plenty of that. And I'm grateful for all of the folks who worked on the campaign and all of the people in the community who reached out with questions, with requests, with a request for us to pay attention to their needs in a way that they may not feel that we have in the past. And it's been largely a very positive dialogue. And now we are no longer opponents. We are on the same board working together for our community, and I'm looking forward to that. The first thing that we'll be looking at is our budget, and we'll talk about that a little later. There were some really big races that good reasons for everybody to be happy and disappointed last night. But on a local level, I want to say congratulations, Trustee Rika Levin and Trustee-elect Manuel Quesada. I look forward to working with Trustee-elect Quesada in the new year, and I'm very pleased to be able to continue working with Rika Levin. And congratulations also to our state representatives, Sandy Galiff and David Carlucci. They were reelected handily. And Councilwoman Jackie Shaw, who got 100% of the vote in her race. All right, I will put on my documentary and discussion series hat for a moment and invite folks to join us next week, November 15th at 6:30 p.m. at the Ossining Public Library. The name of the film is Plastic Paradise. You know, this series, we talk about a variety of issues that are important to our community, ranging from environmental issues to social justice, and this is certainly a very, very important environmental issue, what is going on primarily in our oceans. And so we'll learn more about the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. We've probably mostly heard about that at this point, but this film takes a different approach, and I'm very pleased to welcome the impressive panel that we'll have with us, the program coordinator from Citizens Campaign for the Environment, a researcher from the Lamont Doherty Earth Observatory, and the educational director from the Hudson River Sloop Clearwater. So please join us. That's Thursday the 15th at 6:30 p.m. And before we turn this over, I just want to say I saw that Treasurer Thomas Warren arrive while we were making our opening remarks. We are very excited. This is one of our favorite seasons here in village government. Manager McDonald has been working for months with all of our department heads, understanding what they think their needs are going to be for the coming year and putting together a budget. None of us, to my knowledge, has seen it yet, and we're very, very excited. It just got put, I imagine, in the binders right now that you've walked in with a big box of exciting gifts. And I understand that it will be available online for everyone to review beginning tomorrow. And then next week, I hope you will join us at Village Hall for the public hearing on the budget. That is the invitation for everyone in the community to come and talk to us about what you think should be our priorities in the coming year and how that should end so we can figure out how to reflect that in our budget. We will open that meeting. Debbie McDonald will provide for us one of her presentations, which she's very good at really deconstructing the numbers for us. So it's not just a bunch of line items. It'll be a real human way of looking at what is in the village budget, because it is very much just how we pay for so many things that make our community so special. So, Madam Clerk, and then I look forward to hearing from you, Debbie.
Okay, so yes, next we have an administrative report from Village Manager Deborah McDonald.
Well, I want to start by recognizing Tom and Dale and ask Tom if he would like to speak about the budget. I will. They are still hot. Yeah, you don't want to. He's fried. Yeah, literally. It's a long and arduous process. We will hand them out after the meeting so that we're not disruptive here. But it's quite intense, and there are some new things in it that I'm asking the board members to look at. One of them is in the fee schedule. So we have come up with some different ideas on how we might be able to charge fees for the planning department and the building department. That makes a lot more sense and has a very simple formula. And so I'm looking forward to having that discussion with you. So I would bring your attention to that so that you can review it. It is located in the budget books after a blue section. So before the blue is what we normally do, and after the blue is some ideas. Also, I've been working with Bill Garrison, our Parks and Rec superintendent, to come up with some ideas on how we can better charge fees and usage fees for our parks and our rec facility that make a little bit of sense. And again, it's something that I think will generate a lot of discussion with the board when it's time for that, but I would ask that you review that quite extensively. We have some new equipment in this budget. We are looking at electric vehicles this year, and we are in line to perhaps get some free electric vehicle charging stations. So we'll be meeting on that as a staff on tomorrow, but I think that is the wave of the future. I've heard this board talk about environmental friendly vehicles, and we are doing quite a deep analysis on our vehicles to see exactly where they are and what's costing us a lot of money and things like that. So I think you'll be pleased when we have our meeting on that. So the budget is pretty thick. If you would like to get it electronically rather than going through all the pages and things like that, we're happy to send it to you. But again, it will be online for the public to review, and we will be putting together the presentation on the 14th. Really will be looking at the high level of how are we investing your money as a community, and I'm pretty excited about it, actually. So we did come in under the tax cap, and it's not a large increase that we're recommending. It's 2 cents per thousand, and but it's up for the board to decide where they want to go from there. So I want to thank Tom and Dale for the diligent and long hours and all of the work that you did to massage and change and move things around. One of the other things that we did is we kind of looked at where some of the line items were, and both of them were very gracious in putting them into the departments in which are responsible for them, and just sort of reorganizing the budget a little bit too. And that took a lot of effort and a lot of time. And I thank you so much for doing that, because I think it'll make a difference when the public looks at how we're investing their funds. But you don't want to come up and say anything, but thank you so much. And that's really all I have for tonight, Mayor.
Thank you. Trustee Levin, did you have one thing you wanted to add?
I wanted to and coughing, I turned it off. I have to remember to put it back on. So Victoria, congratulations. You were voted Employee of the Year at a Rotary
Thank
Club
you.
function that we went to. And I didn't know, actually. That's why I asked you when we walked in. So it's always great, whether you're fourth or fifth generation, we still have an Ossining family that not only are you doing a great job while Marianne Roberts recovers, and we miss her and wish her well, but also that I didn't realize that you just recently finished your master's degree as
Yes.
well in public administration. So congratulations.
Thank you.
There were others, but I wanted to at least recognize Victoria since she's sitting here with us now for quite a while. So thank you for being
Thank
here.
you.
I imagine we may hear about one of the others in a moment. We won't steal your
Not
thunder, but
stealing
we
it, yeah.
could not be more pleased and happy about that award as well. Madam
Okay.
Clerk.
So next we have Corporation Counsel Stuart Kahan with an administrative report.
Thank you, Victoria. This evening, we will, the board will be voting on proposed local law 10, Code of Ethics. We've had a public hearing on that at our last meeting. Also, there is, just for announcements, there is a Zoning Board of Appeals meeting this coming Tuesday at 7 p.m. at the Ossining Operations Center. One of the items on that will be the Hidden Cove project and the variances that are being requested by the developers for that project. So folks are certainly invited to attend that meeting and learn about particular variances that are being sought with regard to that as that project continues to move both before planning and the zoning boards. That's all I have.
Right.
Okay. And next we have an administrative report from Police Chief Kevin Sylvester.
Thank you. I just want to start my report tonight with an acknowledgement. Or since we last met for a legislative session, we lost 2 members of our department. At the end of October, we lost James Droham, who was a crossing guard for a long time, also a volunteer fireman for, I believe, 50 years. And then shortly after that, we lost Auxiliary Sergeant Mario Conti, who was also a town court officer and has at times worked as a park enforcement officer and has just generally been somebody who's volunteered and dedicated their time, also a longtime volunteer fireman, to our community. So we want to just acknowledge their service to the community and thank their families for all of their dedication and all the sacrifice the families made to share those folks with us. And they will be missed. On a lighter note, we ended October with our trunk or treat on Main Street, which was a huge hit. It seems to get bigger and bigger every year, and I'm sort of scared of it. But that leads us to Officer Hershowitz and her Employee of the Year award. She is the person who produces Movies in the Park and Cops and Kids Sports and the Halloween event and every food drive and coat drive and anything else that she's trying to fleece you for this month. She really makes a lot of things happen, all of the things with our kids. She's not the only person that does it because we really have an amazing staff here, but she leads the charge and she's somebody that never gives up. So we're really proud of her for being acknowledged, and I'd like to thank the board for submitting her for that honor. It's the first time, I do have to acknowledge at the ceremony, I said she was, I thought, the first police officer ever to get it, and retired Detective Girolamo quickly corrected me and said that he had gotten it before. So congrats to Johnny G whenever it was that he won that award. I wasn't there, and I blame retired Captain Scott Craven for giving me that bad information. As we move into November, I'll apologize ahead of time for this atrocious attempt at a beard. We are in No Shave November, where the police department is raising money for men's health issues. So you can check out our Facebook page. There's a link there to donate. We're raising money for men's issues and cancer research and education and stuff like that. We have some great beards, and then there's this. At the same time, Ossining School District is doing a coat drive right now, which I just found out about. So we're going to hop on board with that. The box isn't in the lobby, but it will be tomorrow morning. We're going to be doing a coat drive, also hats and gloves, lightly worn or new, all sizes, kids, adults, whatever you have. It's a real need, and a lot of that's going to affect people very locally here. And I'll end this with a couple of traffic things. Tomorrow, in front of 129 Croton Avenue, that's between Dale Avenue and Sherwood, there's going to be a very brief reduction to 1 lane there where Con Ed's doing a little bit of work. It should take about 20 minutes and be sometime between 9 and 10 a.m. We'll put out a message. Similarly, at that time on Dale Avenue, another about a half hour that it'll be down to 1 lane. And not in the village, but still my responsibility. Hawks Avenue is going to be 1 lane from the 9A overpass to the town line tomorrow and presumably Friday if the weather holds up. So all those messages will go out tomorrow morning again. But if you're somebody who goes to the train, and we know that those folks are famous for not leaving too much extra time, maybe tomorrow just a few extra minutes to get there. And our last traffic issue is Ossining High School. We're going to have officers there over the next couple of days because of some construction. So we are directing traffic at the high school to help parents get the drop off. But again, leave yourself a few minutes and everything goes better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next we have organization announcements. Is there anyone here that would like to make an organization announcement? Okay. Then next, village board resolutions. Is there anyone here to make any comments on any of the proposed resolutions tonight? Okay, so we'll move right in. First, we have approval of minutes, October 17th, 2018, regular meeting. Resolved that the town board of the, I'm sorry. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Austining hereby approves the minutes of the October 17th, 2018, regular meeting as presented. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Abstain.
No, that's good. Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so next we have approval of voucher detail, November 7th, 2018. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Austining hereby approves the voucher detail report dated November 7th, 2018 in the amount of $824,894.47. Is there a motion?
Second.
Comments on the board, please.
Some of the items, a couple of large items out of the general fund having to do with IMA payments to the town of Austining. One of them is to the village clerk for our arrangement with them from January through October of this year for about $172,000. And then the other IMA payment is $106,000 for our parking IMA with them. And in addition to that, we did have a couple of capital items. One is the fire department's new truck that they requested for $65,000. That's the, I guess that's their command center bus that they had requested. And then also there was a request from, I guess there's a Sand Pro tool that the Recreation Department had requested back actually in 2017 that had not been purchased. And so that was a $20,000 item. Otherwise, the usual expenses for the village.
I rarely get any phone calls about our what's going to be in the expense report, but I did today from, and it's a very small item that wouldn't ever jump out. It was a $500 item to do with the fire safety program and a particular initiative that the fire department is working with a community organization here in the village at Brookside School, and it was a good opportunity for me to explain to a community member exactly how this works. That every couple of weeks we review all of the expenses, and it is everything from some books for children in first grade to a fire truck. So, any other further comments on the board, Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next, Fire Department Monitor Host Company removal from driver's list, Michael Mallory. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Austining hereby removes, at his request, Michael Mallory from the driver's list for Monitor Host Company. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Comments on the board, Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Next, DPW Design Services Agreement for the new sodium hypochlorite booster station at Shaft 4 and new trihalomethane THM removal systems at the Pleasantville Road, Lakeville Drive, and Torbank water storage tanks. Resolved that the village manager is authorized to execute an agreement with Hazen and Sawyer, 498 7th Avenue, 11th floor, New York, 10018, for the proposed amount of $139,825, not including reimbursable expenses, for professional design services for a new sodium hypochlorite booster station at Shaft 4, $25,475, and new trihalomethane removal systems at the Pleasantville Road, Lakeville Drive, and Torbank water storage tanks, $114,350, subject to review and approval of said agreement by Corporation Council. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Comments on the board, Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Resolution authorizing the superintendent of the Recreation and Parks Department to authorize as a donation a combination billiards table tennis table with associated equipment. Resolved that the superintendent of the Village of Austining Recreation and Parks Department is authorized to accept from Paul Randrup, 22 Ramapo Road, Austining, New York, a donation of a 7-foot combination billiards table tennis table, a set of 4 billiard cues, and 1 set of billiard balls, and is further resolved that the Village of Austining gratefully acknowledges the donation to the Recreation and Parks Department. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Comments on the board, Madam Clerk?
All those in favor? Adoption of proposed local law 10 of 2018, a local law amending chapter 17, ethics, code of the Village of Austining Code. Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining has been considering the adoption of proposed local law 10 of 2018, titled A Local Law Amending Chapter 17, Ethics Code of the Village of Ossining Code, and whereas in accordance with the New York State law and the Village of Ossining Code, and having provided all requisite notice, the Board of Trustees conducted a public hearing on October 17, 2018 at 7:30 p.m. at the Birdsall-Fagan Police Court Facility, 8688 Spring Street, Ossining, New York, during which time the public had an opportunity to be heard regarding the proposed local law, and whereas at the conclusion of the public hearing was closed, and whereas the proposed local law has been considered by the Board of Trustees, and it has been determined that there are no impediments to proceeding with the adoption of the local law. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby adopts the proposed local law 10 of 2018 as local law 7 of 2018, and directs that said local law be filed and or distributed in accord with applicable law. Is there a motion?
So moved.
I'll just, because we don't vote on laws very often, and then we have spoken about this on a number of occasions, this amendment to the Code of Ethics came as a result of a circumstance related to a planning issue, but it highlighted for us sort of a gap, I would say, in how we accounted for the expectations for former employees and their future engagement with the village. And so I'm pleased that we were able to look into how to improve this and be able to make this be responsive to the concerns that were raised by folks, and very reasonable concerns. So I'm pleased to be able to move this forward.
Okay. Trustee Bazemore?
Aye.
Trustee Codman?
Aye.
Trustee Levin?
Aye.
Trustee Herrera? Mayor Garrity?
Aye.
Okay, next resolution approving cabaret license for EJ Fine Services Inc., DBA Malike Turkish Cuisine, 125 Main Street, Ossining, New York. Whereas pursuant to chapters 100 and 171 of the Code of the Village of Ossining, the authorized representative of the business EJ Fine Services Inc., DBA Malike Turkish Cuisine, 125 Main Street, Ossining, New York, has made an application to the village clerk as licensing officer for a cabaret license for recorded music with a solo belly dancer, and whereas pursuant to sections 100-3 and 100-5 of the code, the village clerk caused an investigation into said application, and upon receipt of the results of the investigation from the building department and police department, the application has been referred to the Board of Trustees for consideration, and whereas the Board of Trustees discussed this application for a cabaret license at the October 24th work session, now therefore it is resolved that pursuant to the code, the Board of Trustees hereby approves a cabaret license for EJ Fine Services Inc., DBA Malike Turkish Cuisine, 125 Main Street, Ossining, New York, for the 2018 as follows. Malike Turkish Cuisine, Friday and Saturday, 7 p.m. to 12 a.m., recorded music with a solo belly dancer. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so we talked about this because there was like an even more narrow request, so I'm glad that we've broadened it to a reasonable amount of time for the business on a Friday and Saturday. Is there a reason why we're still being so specific about recorded music with a solo belly dancer? Like, what if some guy wants to come play a guitar and they say, we'd like to have a guy play a guitar?
The application is clear as to what they want. This is exactly what they asked for. I would have been happy to make it broader, but when I wrote back, they said this is for family entertainment. We're doing, as you recall, their original thing was just between 7:15 and 7:30.
Yes.
So we expanded that, but that's what they asked for. They also only asked for those 2 days. So,
Okay.
ordinarily we might broaden it, but I didn't see if that's what they asked for.
But that's not going to impede them, right? I mean, if they did want to do something
If they
different.
wanted to, they could probably come back. We could just revise the permit. If they wanted to do that. But I had specifically sent an email to them to know exactly what it is they wanted to do, and they said this was it. They were just doing this as some entertainment for people who come in to have a meal early at night.
So the general cabaret license usually covers
It's just music.
all the above, right? I mean,
And generally till 2 a.m. also.
okay, that's okay. All right, so
Yeah, but this is also a cabaret license just for the last couple of months of the year, and then we'll have to renew in January, and then it could modify it anyway.
Exactly correct. This
Well,
would
then
only
it's
go
not
to the
that
end
big
of
a
the
deal.
year.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
I certainly don't object. So,
All those in favor?
aye.
Okay. Next, we have continuing business of the board. Are there any items?
Is there any? Okay. Not seeing any.
Okay, moving on to new business of the board. Nothing? Okay.
Okay.
So now we have visitor recognition. Is there anyone here that would like to address the board?
Anyone like to address the board?
On anything?
Okay.
Yes.
Nothing.
Yes, anything of general interest to the community, and you have 3 minutes to say whatever you'd like.
Oh,
Welcome.
Okay. So this is kind of a really big topic, and I don't expect an answer right away, but I would just like to know if there's anything going to be done to kind of help out the undocumented immigrants that are in this community, especially when it comes to ICE basically like terrorizing them and pulling them out of their homes unlawfully.
That's it?
Yeah.
I mean, you have 3 minutes, so I didn't want to interrupt if there were further
Oh.
comments that you wanted to share.
No, that's it.
Thank you. Is there anyone on the board who would like to comment on this question?
You could please make sure leave your information that way. We know how to contact you. Thank you so much. Good to see you. You know, the only item that I've kind of been pushing and I did an op-ed on is that as a sitting trustee, as a resident, I still don't understand the police procedure. The officers go to it, go when there is a ICE arrest. I have full confidence in our department, so it's not a at them, but I'm very big on the public's understanding of procedure. So that's something that I'll be pushing a little bit more. You know, what exactly happens, right, when they go, because our police department's really there to protect everyone. And that's why they go. So that's my take on it. We do partner with a lot of organizations. I personally, in my capacity, partner with the New York Immigration Coalition, Neighbors Link, the Hudson Valley Community Coalition, and maybe we could actually invite their executive team to come speak to us about, you know, how they feel Austin's doing, just overall, you know, immigration and fears. I know that we've partnered up with Neighbors Link in the past to offer Know Your Rights, but really how to further education and decrease fear, but really how to explain how we operate more clear, and not just say that we don't go into procedure. So I agree. Thank you.
Anyone else like to comment, please?
Yeah, the issue of you know, federal immigration enforcement coming into our jurisdiction is something that's been quite troubling to me, and I've certainly spoken about it publicly. But you know, sometime back, you know, we reaffirmed as a board that it's very important that people understand how that our law enforcement are not engaged in the enforcement of federal law, and that, you know, only in the cases where there's a bench warrant or where there's information that we have that forces us to put ourselves into a situation where we would have to detain somebody, that's the only situation in which we would act. Our law enforcement doesn't care about your, you know, your whether you're a citizen or not. A law enforcement here in the village is only interested in the safety of everybody that lives here, regardless of your status. And I've been assured of that, and I'm confident that our police department and that Kevin Sylvester, our chief, is going to do that. The problems that we have with immigration are problems that are in to the federal government, and until our legislative bodies and until our executive branch decides to have a reasonable immigration policy in this country, we're going to struggle with this. But there are a lot of resources here in the village, nonprofits and other groups like Neighbors Link, that are trying to educate folks so they do understand what their rights are. And I think as a body, and I can speak for myself personally, as a citizen and as an elected till the end of the year, that I think we're doing the best that we can. It's not perfect. It's not a perfect situation, but I continue to be concerned about it because many of these people have lived in our community for many, many years, and they're displaced for reasons that make no sense to me at all. So thank you for coming forward and speaking about this and bringing it back to our attention. Thank you.
Are there other comments on the board in this regard? I've spoken with, been in contact with mayors and supervisors across Westchester County because we, many of our communities have a large immigrant population, some documented, some undocumented, and certainly many families have mixed documentation status. And we feel very frustrated and impotent when it comes to the federal immigration policy. There is legislation pending in Albany that is something tangible. that is in the state purview, and we are working to encourage, and we are more optimistic after yesterday's election with the Senate now being controlled by Democrats, and that's legislation related to driver's licenses for all drivers in New York, regardless of documentation status. It's legislation that's been around for a couple of years. In fact, our board was one of the first to pass a resolution asking Albany to take up and to pass this legislation, and we did that the month after the presidential election. And it was partly a message to Albany to say we have a lot of people in our community who would benefit from this. Having a driver's license and being able to know all the rules of the road and be insured like everybody else in our community provides stability for families in our community. And it also provides safer roadways for everyone. With the level of rhetoric and misinformation that gets caught up in immigration policy, it's not necessarily taken up with that same mindset. And I'm optimistic that it will be in the new year. I've been working with organizations, volunteer organizations, immigrants groups, to bring attention to this. And now that the election is over, and we know how the Senate is going to be, that it's going to be run by Democrats, which is a change from recent years. And we have the entire Assembly representation, I believe, has been supportive of the legislation, and now we are getting groups signed on from state, county representatives, and my role in it is to continue to increase the number of municipalities like ours that are signing on and saying, look, this matters in our community. We want all of you legislators who represent us in Westchester County to speak with your colleagues upstate where maybe it's not as big of an issue. If you're a community that doesn't have the same immigration population that we do, they may have different questions or not recognize how important it is. And that's one of the reasons why the legislation did not continue to go forward a couple of years ago when it was raised. It was just seen as an issue for New York City, and the rest of the state didn't pay attention. And that's why Westchester is really stepping up and making a strong stand. And there's going to be a community meeting to educate and get the word out about this. I believe it's the first week of December, and I'll gladly share information with you about that. It is certainly not going to take away from the fear of people in their homes and the behavior by ICE. But it is one tangible thing at a level of government where we have a little more influence, and that can hopefully improve the lives of some people in our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Welcome.
How are you? My name is Gabriel, and I'm a resident of Ossining. I too would like to know what the procedures would be if ICE would ever come to Ossining again, being with the police Ossining department. What exactly is it? You know, I understand that this is something really not in your hands. You know, this is more of a federal problem and issue. I understand that, but the little that can be done, or that you guys could be done, I want to know what the procedure exactly is. It's very vague, you know. Police department says we're with you. How exactly? I would like to know that.
Thank you, sir. I'll just clarify for folks that the Village Board of Trustees, we also do serve as the police commissioners, and but what that most often means is we do discuss big picture policy, and in the wake of the last presidential election and the rhetoric about, and then now the policies about immigration that came to pass, and with recommendations from our state attorney general, we have had a number of conversations about policy with our legal staff and with our police department when it comes to actual implementation of policies. That is the law enforcement professionals' purview, and this is a forum where we are very interested in having your questions heard, and if there is an opportunity for us to provide any information, anyone on the board or on staff is welcome to speak, but it's not always the best forum for a back and forth. So anybody wants to speak,
There's not a whole lot to share that hasn't been shared already, and I don't think we've been vague necessarily so much as the fact that I've highlighted that we can't explain what's going to happen in every permutation of a situation. Just as if you asked me what would happen at a car accident, there could be any number of different ways it goes. A federal agency coming in and executing a warrant is a particularly fluid situation, so it's more complicated than saying what do you do when you answer a general 911 call. When ICE comes here. We've asked them time and time again, and I have all confidence that they're going to cooperate now because we've met with some higher administrators in at least the state area that they're going to be checking in with us when they come here to let us know they're in town. When they let us know, we're not going to announce their presence to the general public because that's a danger to the officers that are there and our officers. And it's not what we do. We wouldn't announce that we're going on a search warrant if our team was going out. When they go, our officers will go with them. And we found on more than one occasion that the distinct problem of us not escorting those officers is that there's no communication between them and us, and we then can't answer for anything else that happened. We have no way to objectively observe anything that went on, and we're left in the dark. And ultimately, if there comes to be a dangerous situation where something happens, either ICE does something, if they were to do something outside of what regulations are and something bad happens, or if someone were to run from them, or God forbid there's a shootout between them, I'm not comfortable with anyone in the public being in a place where some other law enforcement agency operates like that in our community without our officers being there in order to take control of a situation, or at least to have radio communication to get other help. So I'm committed to sending our officers with ICE every time they come here for the purpose of providing communication, scene safety, and liaisoning to that group while they're here. As far as what we do to stop or prevent them from happening, we're not going to step in the way of federal agents executing lawful duties. If our officers were to see somebody doing something unlawful, just the same as they would with any other police department that comes here, they're obligated to step in and make something happen. They have to stop them at that point. That's the duty they have. To this point, we've not seen anybody from any agency come here and do anything illegal. And that's not to say that you haven't heard that that's happened, or maybe you've seen something. If you have, we've encouraged you time and time again to go and report those to proper channels. But that's our role when we go there. As far as where the officer will stand, we're not there to arrest people. We're not there to put handcuffs on people. If a fight breaks out, or our officer is going to do their best to make it a safe scene, yes, they're going to take action to make things safe. That is always going to be our job, to make things safe. But we're not there to take the side of ICE or someone else. We're there for public safety. That's the only reason. And I can only add to this that tonight, of all nights, I have seen our officers go to lengths that I've never seen anyone in this community go to for a family in need tonight. I watched a family that needed something, and I watched officers go in their pocket and open up their own wallets to make sure that somebody had some place to sleep tonight. I've not seen anybody else go and do that for a family in the way that it happened tonight. And this was a family that isn't documented here. And I didn't see one officer. I knew that because I knew that personally. I didn't see one officer stop and ask them about their status, nor have I ever heard that question asked unless it was relevant to an investigation that was taken on. So I understand there's concerns and there's things we see on TV and stuff like that. I've said time and time again that people have to trust our police department. And I know that's incredibly hard concept to take at this point in time, and all the things that you may see going on. But we're not every police department. We're not every other town in America. And I think people have to spend some time with us, get to know us, and you'll come to realize that it's a great organization full of wonderful people trying to continue to do amazing things.
Any further comments? Madam Clerk.
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn to executive session for matters of personnel? All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh,
Wait,
and
wait.
union
Collective
negotiation and collective bargaining. Okay.
Adjourned as amended. Let's go with that.
Yes,
Okay.
adjourned as amended.
With
Okay.
that,
Yes.
please join us next week at Village Hall. We will begin with a public hearing about next year's budget, and I'm just so excited. It's sitting right over there in a box, and then I get to see the budget. We get to look at it all week, and so do you. Come and comment on it next Wednesday, or tune in and learn about what is in the budget, and have Manager McDonald put it in more real human terms for us. I look forward to seeing folks next week at the public hearing in the budget. This meeting is adjourned to executive session.